Hello and welcome to my channel of trauma healing and growth with Claudine. Today it's a story time. I want to share with you all my personal experience going to court when you're dealing with divorce and post-separation phase. So it's a juicy story of how things were for me back then. And in sharing my story, I just want to help someone out there who might be going through the same struggle, who might be going through similar experience, so that they know that they are not alone. It can happen to anybody, and it's not pretty. So, how was my experience? Last time I shared a video about my marriage, how my marriage was, and how I end up getting out of that marriage. So today I want to give you a continuation. So, after I left my marriage, I went and stayed in a shelter for almost a month. And during that stay in a shelter, that's where staff at the shelter helped me to start with the court proceedings. I had no idea how it works, and quite honestly, I was not looking into that. I just wanted to be safe. I wanted to be out of my marriage, preferably the same way we got married between the two of us. Personally, I was thinking that if things did not work between us, that the separation and divorce should be also straightforward, like no string attached. I didn't see it as something that is going to be difficult and traumatizing, but that's what happened. So we went to court right from my separation, like in 2014. And the process went on and on and on until in 3 years later, like the divorce was pronounced in 2017. And the time in between was a very traumatizing, if I might say. Like the first year after the separation, the first 4 months especially were the most traumatizing one, because I was dealing with the challenges of becoming a single mother. I was looking for a full-time job, and at the same time dealing with the court procedures. So during the court procedures, whenever we were going to court, I can never wish whatever I experienced there to anyone, not even to my worst enemies. It's very traumatizing. It is very, I don't know, I didn't like the experience. And mind you, we didn't even had anything to fight over for. We had nothing together. We had no house. We had no anything else related to finances. We just had our daughter. But the court proceedings, they were so traumatic when I was sitting there and listening to all to the lawyers and the judges and to everybody else's the cases. The court was always full. There were multiple cases from multiple families going through divorce, and everybody was hearing about each other's businesses. And whenever I was sitting there and listening to the lawyers, to the judges, and to my ex-spouse, it felt like as if I was a character in a movie, like it was so short-lived and so traumatic that I'm glad I'm out of it. And quite honestly, it's something I could never wish to anyone to go through. It's not fun, it's traumatic, and yeah, but I went through that. So the first 4 months were very critical. The first 4 months after separation were very critical, and that's where most of those court proceedings were happening. Luckily, 5 months after separation, my ex spouse finally moved out of the province. So that was super helpful to me because of him moving out. That gave me a space to breathe, a space to reconnect with myself, a space to know that I was on my own and that I had this little baby in my hands that I have to take care of. But at least I had a peace of mind because when he moved out of the province, the fights will significantly decrease, whatever what those fights will for. And that gave me a space to just to be normal, to be able to think and to be able to be there for my daughter and go through my challenges and struggles without having a counterpart in which I have to deal with. So the post the period of post separation was a very difficult one. After dealing with the court procedures, dealing with employment, and then being a single mom with a baby that I had to take care of, it was insane. So, but at least when my ex moved out of the province, that's where I had a space to breathe and be able to be myself again and be able to know that I was in this journey alone, that I had this child to take care of, and that I have to put myself together to make it happen. So I did it for almost 3 years on my own, but at least without having him in the same city where he would make troubles for me, that made a difference. I remember when I started working, I was working night shifts. I started with night shifts. I remember starting from midnight to 8 a.m. And from there, I will have to come back home and stay with my tutor for a few hours and then go back to work later. So I did that for a few months and then I got a second job, which one I was starting from. The first one I was at midnight, from midnight 12 to 8 o'clock, and then go to my next one in the morning from 8:30 to 4:30. I didn't drive back then. I used to take the bus. So I remember running as soon as my night shift ended. I will run to my next stop to catch up my 8:05 bus so that I can get to my next shift and stay on that shift until 4:30. How did I do it? I don't know where I was getting the strength. God was helping me because it was not easy at all. And by the time I finished my day shift at 4:30, I will go back to babysitters. I used to have multiple babysitters that were helping me to take care of my daughter when I was at work. So I will go there. And one of the lady who used to take care of my daughter, I am super grateful for her because she was so helpful to me. And one time she just told me that she sees how much struggles I was going through. And she offered me a room that I can come to and crash into whenever I want to see my daughter. because when I was working those double shifts, I could spend almost a week without really seeing my daughter. And that lady was affected by that. So she offered me a space that I can come into and crash there and be able to see my daughter for a few hours and then sleep and then go back to my next shift and so forth. So I did that for almost 8 months before I got another position, evening position whereby I'll start, yes, my night shift from midnight to 8 and then come home and sleep for a few hours and then go to my next shift from 3 to 10 um, to make money so that I can be able to provide for myself and my daughter. I did that for 2 years, 2.5 years, working two jobs, being a single mom, and juggling between work and life and being a mom, a single mom who was not driving back then. And it was not easy. On my days off, I will be crushed, completely crushed, tired, and barely having time to play with my daughter, barely having a time to look after her. Sometimes I'll be sleeping with one eye and the other one is looking at her through the. It was not easy. I remember one time when I was so tired and I crashed on my living room. My daughter was playing around and I must have slept for a few hours. When I woke up, the house was so quiet, so quiet. I automatically jumped up from my couch and I went upstairs to look for my daughter if she was playing upstairs. I couldn't see her, and then I come back down. I checked the kitchen, I checked everywhere, and I looked at the door if she could have probably went out. The door was still closed. It was very quiet, and I was terrified. She was a year and a half that time. And then I remembered to look under my couch, the couch I was sleeping in. So when I looked in there she was peacefully sleeping. And my heart. I remember another time when she was almost 2, I taught her how to call 911. So I was like, I'm in this house alone. Looking after this child by myself, most of the time tired, working two jobs, barely having a time to sleep at all. It's like, what if something happened to me and I'm in this house alone with this kid? What could happen to my baby? So I taught her how to call 911. And guess what she did? A day after, she called 911 while I was asleep. I remember her coming to me. She just tapped on me, and I just woke up very confused. And she handed me off the phone. On the phone, I heard this lady. She was talking to me, and then she told me like that she was from 911. What's your emergency? And automatically, I just wake up wide open. I looked at the phone. I looked at my daughter. I looked at the phone. I'm like, hello, what's your emergency? So I had to apologize. I told them what was happening. I told them that I had taught my daughter to call them just in case something happened to me. And that's what she did. Yeah, so those are some of the stories I always remember. Now that 10 years later, I can talk about it and laugh about it and share my experience. But what a story. It's not easy to be a single mom in these countries. Back home, I think it might be easier because we have large families and extended families, and a child is for the whole village can raise a child. But here, if you are on your own, if you don't have anybody, even if you do have somebody. Everybody is busy with their lives. Everybody is dealing with their own challenges. Like, you can't have somebody to help you 24/7. If you're going through a divorce, a separation, and you have kids involved, it's so difficult. So whenever I remember my story, I can't help but to thank God that helped me to get out of that situation. It was not easy at all. It was so difficult. It was so traumatizing. It was so shocking. But by grace of God, I made it through and I came out victorious. Things changed positively for me when my mom came to stay with me. Thank you, Canada, for allowing my mom to come stay with me. She got here when my daughter was 3 years old. So from 9 months to 3 years old, I was struggling by myself to raise her by myself, while I was juggling between employments and um, social life and everything else. It was not easy. So when my mom finally got here, I was this close, so close to to lose it. I was this much close. But God didn't let it happen. He sent my mom to help me out, and she has been with us ever since. And now I live to tell a story and to share it, but it's not easy. So the reason why I'm sharing my story, it's to inspire someone who might be going through some thing, who might be going through divorce, who might be going through separation, and they feel like there is no way out, and they feel like they can't survive by being single parent by themselves. It's a temporary situation. It's a temporary situation that ends. It's a temporary situation that comes to you to teach you something. And yeah, it's possible to come out of it. I did it. And I'm here to share the story. So that's my story of after separation. And it was not easy, but I made it through. And so if I did, you can. Take care, everybody. God bless.